Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I hope you are safe. I hope you are well. I hope that you are continuing in prayer as we, as a nation, and as a world, continue to struggle with this corona pandemic. As we look at the things that are going on, as I have shared with you, pardon me, nothing can give us more confidence and more assurance than the reality and the fact that no matter what happens, we cannot be separated from the love of God. I was watching some documentaries, just, being quarantined. A couple of those documentaries touched in passing. It was actually in the background, not the focus of the documentary, about the bubonic plague that hit Europe. And look, folks, the bubonic plague wiped out, according to some estimates, half of the population of Europe. You know what? There were so-called prophecy experts saying that was the end. That was the end of time. It was God's judgment on them. And on and on and on it went. And I thought, my goodness, a pandemic that wiped out half of the population of Europe. And you compare that, I'm not trying to negate, I'm not trying to depreciate, I am not in any way trying to mitigate the seriousness of what's going on with the coronavirus. I'm just simply saying that when you compare what's happening today with what happened then, and you look at the marvelous medical things, the technicians, the research, the facilities that we have today, it's absolutely astounding on a positive note. And there are positive things happening. We just have to hunker down. We have to remain constant in prayer. We have to look to the Lord for our confidence and for our assurance, because this too will pass. Okay, we are continuing our examination of what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24. In Matthew chapter 24, the disciples asked him, when he had predicted the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple, they had asked him, tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? One of those signs, and by the way, some former preterists have tried to make a little bit of hay, and by saying, well, the apostles asked for a sign. They didn't ask for signs, plural. That's such an abuse of grammar and linguistics. It absolutely refuses to consider the use of heterosis. Now, heterosis, and you can find this in different sources, different scholarly sources. Heterosis is when a speaker or writer uses a singular term to refer to plural realities. Or the reverse of that, when they use a plural form to speak of a singular reality. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 24 said, it was necessary that things in the heavens be sanctified with greater sacrifices, plural, than these. The these being reference to the earthly, physical sacrifices. Now he says it was necessary that the heavenly things be cleansed with better sacrifices, plural. But he's referring to the singular sacrifice of Jesus. And so when people jump up and say, oh, well, the apostles asked for one sign because the word is singular, that is an absolute abuse of language. But I digress. Okay. Jesus said this gospel of the kingdom will be preached into all of the world as a witness to the nations. Then comes the end. Now, I've shared with you from verse 32 and 33 when Jesus said, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When it puts forth his leaves, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things come to pass, know that he is nigh, even at the door. And he said, but of that day and hour knows no man. No, not the angels, but my Father only. So, Jesus gave the completion of the world mission as a sign of the coming end, the end, totelos. He said no one knew the day or the hour except the Father. But he said, when you see the signs, you'll know it's near. I took you last Friday, to Revelation chapter 14. I'm going to read verse 6 and 7 again. Then I saw another angel flying through the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and the springs of water. Now, before I continue, I need to point something out. Last week I said, when it says the hour of his judgment has come, I said has come is in the perfect. My good friend Cheryl Davis pointed out to me it's not in the perfect, it's in the aorist active. I appreciate that correction. But it still points out, it drives home the point that the angel sent by the Father who knew the day and the hour, sent the angel to proclaim the hour of his judgment has come. Wow. As I posed last week, how much clearer could language be? And what is the other element? What is the other tenet given in direct connection with the declaration, the hour of his judgment has come? Now remember, folks, you cannot miss this. The Father knew the day and the hour of the coming of the end, of the judgment, right? Everyone agrees with that, right? Okay. Here is the angel sent by the Father who knew the day and the hour, and the angel proclaimed, the hour of his judgment has come. Now, watch this. Remember, the disciples asked for a sign of the coming judgment, which they linked with the fall of Jerusalem and the temple. Verse 8. And another angel followed, saying, Babylon is fallen. Fallen is that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So here is the declaration that the hour of the judgment has come. Why? Because the judgment of Babylon has arrived. Let me see. Jesus, speaking of the fall of Jerusalem and the temple, said this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all of the world as a witness to the nations. Then comes the end. The apostles linked the end with the fall of Jerusalem. Now, I'm currently working on a book entitled, Were the Apostles Confused? I mean, after all, scholars agree. Scholars of all stripes agree. The apostles connected Jesus' prediction of the fall of Jerusalem and the temple with his coming and the end of the age. Now, they were either confused ignorant, dumb as a box of rocks, or they were right. If they were right, then modern commentaries and futurist eschatology is wrong. Flat, dead, wrong. But in response to their question about the end of the age and a sign of the end of the age, Jesus said the gospel will be preached into all the world as a witness to the nations. Then comes the end. In Revelation 14, the Father who knew the day and the hour of that end of the age and of Christ's coming sent the angel to declare the hour of his judgment has come. Babylon is fallen. Oh, wait a minute. That gospel was supposed to be preached where? Oh, into all the world. Then comes the end. The hour of his judgment has come. Babylon is fallen. Now, who's Babylon? Hey, I know a guy who wrote a book entitled, Who is This Babylon? Well, once again, you have to be absolutely literally staggered at the attempts of former preterists to escape the force of revelation. So, and what I mean by that is their, quote, identification of Babylon as some kind of a composite of literal Babylon, Nineveh, Tyre, and who knows whatever, but they literally refuse to give us the specific name of the specific city that John in Revelation identifies as, quote, Babylon, which is, quote, where the Lord was slain. Now, is that difficult, really? Honestly? Seriously? How difficult is it to identify the city where the Lord was slain? So, the correlation is this gospel will be preached in all the world as a witness to the nations. Then comes the end. The end is the coming of the Lord. The end is the judgment. Revelation 14, the preaching of the gospel into all the world, to all the nations. The judgment of Babylon had arrived. And Babylon is where the Lord was slain, where he was crucified. Hey, listen, I mentioned to you last week that I've got a few copies, and I have a few left, of a brand new book by Gary DeMar, The Rapture and the Fig Tree Generation. In this book, Gary DeMar very, very effectively, completely dismantles the claim that the fig tree represented the restoration of Israel in 1948, and therefore we are somehow living in the last days. Now, the regular price of this book is $15.95, or $15, plus shipping. For this limited number of books that I have available, and when I'm out, I'll let you know, total delivered price, $13.95. Just send me the funds through PayPal with a note what you're ordering, okay? But you can save yourself almost $6. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. And tomorrow, we're going to look closer at the declaration of the angel. The hour of his judgment has come. You do not want to miss that. I'll see you on the flip side.